Welcome back to Tangible Wellness, the podcast where I meet you exactly where you are. And today's topic is really about the health of our country and not just overall healthcare costs and what we're going through in society, mainly around our food industry and what we're being fed on a daily basis. And actually, what's driving chronic disease? And so what is the big picture right now in America when it comes to our health? Well, according to stats and research, we are one of the unhealthiest countries in the world. 75% of Americans are dealing with some form of chronic illness. Life expectancy continues to decline, and the top diseases as of now are heart disease, cancer, stroke, Alzheimer's, and chronic respiratory disease. This is not because of just one single cause. This is a system failure. Now, let me paint a picture for you because our dietary guidelines have changed recently, but let's just talk about what's been going on for the last 30 to 50 years. 75% of our diet is considered to have an American standard diet, which consists of highly processed foods. Now, with these highly processed foods, what makes them great for Americans is that they are easy and convenient. So I'm going to paint a picture for you. This is just an example of someone's day-to-day life and why it might be difficult to make changes with food. We wake up early, already rushed. Maybe we get to squeeze in a quick workout. We get the kids ready, and we grab a fast breakfast on the way out the door. Whether that is a ready-to-go drink, a ready-to-go energy drink in a protein bar, or a candy bar, or a granola bar, or cereal, or we stop somewhere along the way like Starbucks and McDonald's. We sit for 8 hours a day at a desk and we work. And during this time, we're dealing with a lot of meetings, phone calls, deadlines, and a lot of overstimulation. Now, with this overstimulation, we're more drawn to eat convenient, easy snacks from vending machines like chips, candy, soda, energy drinks, etc. We drive home exhausted. We eat something prepackaged because maybe we forgot to get something defrosted for dinner. And then we go to bed, and then we repeat this cycle over and over again. Now, what's actually wrong with that picture? The problem with this is the combination of chronic stress, ultra-processed foods, and chemical exposure. What this drives is inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, and chronic disease. Now, we do live longer than we did 1,000 years ago due to modern medicine, but mostly because of Band-Aids, not actual solutions. Now let's talk about our food system overall. What is wrong with the U.S. compared to other countries? Well, in European countries, there are more than 1,300 ingredients that are banned from their food industry. Did you know that a Coca-Cola in a European country only has 15 grams of sugar versus a Coca-Cola here in America, which can contain up to 45 grams? Now, why is that? Well, the ingredients that we use here, we only ban 11 ingredients in America versus 1,300. European system prioritizes long-term health due to their tax system. And the U.S. system, which we all know, prioritizes capitalism, profit, convenience, and scale. The purpose of this episode is to give you education and control, not telling you to overhaul your life overnight. Now, what we want to really focus on is how can we make one small intentional change at a time. Let's start by understanding what are processed foods. We are designed as humans to eat whole food. Our biology is designed to eat things that come from nature. Ultra-processed foods contain ingredients your body does not recognize. They are artificial. That word artificial means that it is not real. And I want you to think of it in terms of if you received an email in a language that you did not understand. Your body doesn't know how to respond to these artificial ingredients, which then your body is going to recognize that as a form of stress. This is what causes oxidative stress and accumulated inflammation. And examples of ultra-processed foods, as all we do, I love them, and other foods, protein bars. Protein bars are one of the most sneaky, healthy, processed foods that we have on the market. Not all of them are created equal. A lot of them can contain really inflammatory ingredients. Flavored yogurts, health food snacks, fast food, sugar-free and low-calorie products. Now, why don't we feel the symptoms immediately? Or why does our health not fail us immediately? Well, newsflash, your body is extremely resilient. I have a saying that I like to use, and it is that your body will work with you until it can't. And over time, with stress plus poor nutrition equals metabolic dysfunction. Now think about this. A lot of times these ingredients will take years upon years to accumulate in your system and start to cause issues. And the issues are not always going to be the same because you're biologically individual, meaning you are different from everyone else around you. Some people have more resilient metabolisms than others. Now, let's just look at the scope of where we are. More than 60 to 70% of Americans are considered overweight or obese. We can't do anything but look at the food that we're consuming. Yes, overindulgence is a problem, but what you're about to understand and learn is that these ingredients cause a disruption in our ability to make healthy decisions. In our prefrontal cortex, it disrupts the gut-brain axis and the strength of our gut microbiome, which all of those things interconnected are what help us maintain a healthy appetite, healthy metabolism, and help us make healthy choices over time. Now, how do we read an ingredient label? When we read an ingredient label, we look at the nutrition facts. Well, I want you to take the nutrition facts out of it, and I just want you to read the little language below it, okay? Now, how are ingredients structured? They're structured from the first ingredient is the most abundant to the last ingredient, which is the least abundant, which is important because if you see corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, or sugar as the first two main ingredients, that means that it is the most abundant in that food. Those are two ingredients that you should avoid in consistent consumption. Every 6 months or every so often, in moderation, not a big deal. Should you avoid them as much as possible? Absolutely. Now, organic, the word organic does not just mean that it is better. And one of the things I always recommend to my clients is if you do not recognize it, question it. If you don't recognize the ingredient, you can't pronounce it, probably put it back and find an alternative. There are so many alternatives nowadays that there's no excuse for us to have to continue to make the same choices. What these foods actually do, they don't just add calories to the food itself. They change your biology. They disrupt your microbiome. They cause chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, and cause hormone imbalance. Now let's go over what ingredients you should avoid on an ingredient label. One of the most widely used chemicals in the world, and you won't see it on an ingredient label, is yes, glyphosate. Glyphosate is found in non-organic grains, wheat, oats, corn, and soy. All of our non-organic produce and processed foods. The health concerns that are found with glyphosate are gut microbiome disruption, endocrine disruption, and classified as a probable carcinogen. So even low exposure over time matters. And I was at a conference 3 years ago, and at that conference, there was a guy talking about glyphosate, and he said that more than 70% of the population has glyphosate in their urine. That was a study that company did across the U.S., which shows how much exposure we're actually getting to just this one chemical. So let alone all the other ingredients that we have to avoid, we also have this extremely carcinogenic pesticide that's being sprayed on our fruits, vegetables, grains, etc., that are causing long-term health issues. Now, what can you do? Number one, wash all of your produce. A simple recipe is baking soda and water on your tomatoes, lettuce, leafy greens, etc. You can buy organic as much as possible. On the key tag sticker, the thing you rip off your banana, at the first number, make sure that number is a number 9. That is true organic produce. That is what you want to look for on the label. Use frozen organic vegetables and fruits to help save money over time so you don't have food that goes to waste. Another key tip is that you don't always have to buy organic. And if you can't, then watermelons, oranges, avocados, bananas, anything with exoskeleton, you don't necessarily have to buy those organic. Now, I recommend it just because of genetically modified food, but if it's all you have access to and it's what you can afford, then go non-organic. Just make sure that you are properly washing your produce. Next is emulsifiers and additives. So the purpose of these additives and emulsifiers is to improve texture and extend shelf life. Now, our cells are designed to have food that decomposes at a fast rate, not at a slow rate. Why? Because that's how our cells absorb energy from nutrients. Things that our body can't absorb very well is things that have an extended shelf life. Because why? they're going to live in our system for a lot longer. Examples of these ingredients are going to be polysorbate 80, I can't say this, carboxymethylcellulose. All right, these are two ingredients that you can find on an ingredient label, but a lot of times they're going to be hidden and they're going to be in the middle of the ingredient label. Now, what are the effects of these? These disrupt gut bacteria, destroying good, healthy bacteria and disrupting the gut lining, which is important for being able to filter out toxins and help absorb nutrients from actual real food. Increases inflammation, meaning once these ingredients bypass the gut lining, they get into your circulatory system, then it creates oxidative stress, which slows down your metabolism over time. And it also decreases your energy, which is why as you continue to get older, or the more stress you have, the more fatigued you feel. Now, where can you find these emulsifiers and additives? Ice creams, cereals, yogurts, and packaged foods. Now, there are healthy alternatives to these foods, right? There are healthier companies making ice cream now. There are healthier cereal companies. There are better yogurt companies out there. I will have a lot of these alternatives actually listed in a blog post that'll be linked in the description below. If you want the full grocery list and everything that comes with it, be sure to go check out that on my website. Number 3 is refined and hidden sugars. This podcast is not just about weight gain. You do not have to be heavy set to understand that ingredients are bad or that ingredients can affect you. Health is not determined by your weight. It is a marker for health, but it is not determined by that. This is about cellular damage. When we have refined and hidden sugars, this causes insulin spikes, inflammation, and a fat storage. So your body, when we eat these refined forms of sugar, it has to have somewhere to go, right? You can look at marathon runners or endurance athletes who are drinking Coca-Cola, eating candy during a race, burning at a higher rate. So these foods are not necessarily going to cause inflammation in the moment because their body is going to get rid of it much faster. Now, for us who sit at a desk all day for 8 hours a day, and we have these hidden and refined sugars, and we're stressed, our body is going to go, oh, stress. We need to store this because we're in survival mode. So if your body can't use it, it is going to store it. So remember that refined and processed sugar is always going to be stored unless your body is active and using it. I'm not advocating for you to eat candy while you train. I am saying these foods cause inflammation if they are not being used. The main one that we really want to watch out for is high fructose corn syrup. This gets processed in the liver and stored as fat. This has also been shown, and this ingredient has been correlated directly to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. If your liver enzymes on your blood panel are spiking, check the ingredients that you are consuming. These refined and hidden sugars can cause that problem, which can then lead and trickle over into type 2 diabetes, obesity, and metabolic dysfunction. Now, the alternatives to this, there are tons of companies out there like Olipop, Zevia, Poppy, dark chocolate, I recommend 75% or above. And then Unreal snacks, Unreal candy, I'm sure some of you have seen that. If you go to Sprouts or Whole Foods, you'll find these companies. Some places like Target even carry them now. It's more natural ingredients. Now, I don't recommend eating candy every day, but if you want candy and you want to enjoy something, that can be a better alternative than a Snickers bar or a Twix bar. Number 4, trans fats. We've heard this our whole life, that fat is bad. Well, fat is not bad. Trans fats are bad. These are created by hydrogenated oils found in fried foods, baked goods, margarine, packaged snacks. What these hydrogenated oils do is they cause an increase in LDL cholesterol, bad cholesterol, and they decrease HDL, which is your good cholesterol. What this puts you at risk of is heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Even a key point here to understand is that even the FDA has flagged them as unsafe. Now, what oils am I talking about? Soybean oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, Pam spray. These hydrogenated oils are highly oxidized. And what they do is they have a low heat point. So at fast food chains and restaurants, and when they do this, they're using these oils which are already oxidized, and then they go beyond their heat point, which makes them carcinogenic. And then these foods, combined with anything that is fried or baked with gluten, sugar, and etc., are what cause the inflammation. Now, better fats from these fats are going to be omega-3s, monounsaturated, and whole food fat sources. So the 5 oils that I recommend that you use or look for on an ingredient label, and you can ask at any restaurant that you go to, depending on where you go. Avocado oil, olive oil, so grass-fed butter, coconut oil, and ghee. Those are going to be your 5 that you want to look for and use on a day-to-day basis. Processed meats and preservatives. These, like processed deli meats, cheeses, etc., they contain nitrates, nitrites, BHA, and BHT. These compounds cause nitrosamines inside the body, which are cancer-linked compounds. The associated risk is increased cancer risk, increased diabetes risk, and hypertension. Some better options for these ingredients are going to be your European imported cheeses, so the big fancy wheel of cheeses at Walmart or wherever you shop. Applegate. Applegate is an awesome company that you can find in most stores, and when you go to the freezer section, you'll find frozen bacon and frozen breakfast sausage from that company, and they're just going to contain chicken, maple syrup, etc., natural ingredients that you know. And then look for nitrate-free deli meats. You can generally find these. Applegate sells them, and there's probably other companies now that are making healthier deli meats. Number 6, artificial sweeteners. Examples of these are going to be sucralose and aspartame. If it's artificial, it's foreign and it's going to cause inflammation, regardless of what studies say. If it's artificial, it's going to cause a problem. Now, what they've actually seen is that there's been a direct correlation that these ingredients, aspartame, Splenda, sweet and low, sucralose, which is what's contained in those sweeteners, have been directly linked to a 30% increased risk of Alzheimer's or dementia. Now, let alone do these cause cognitive decline, but these actually disrupt the gut lining and the gut microbiome. They affect your insulin response. Anything that's artificial and it's a sweetener, your insulin hormone still has to process it. So if it can't process it, then your body is going to stimulate it as stress. These compounds have been linked to metabolic issues, cardiovascular risk, and cognitive decline. Now, occasional use, moderate use, has been listed as safe. Now, what we want to look at is how often are people consuming these. You can find these not only in diet soda, sugar-free energy drinks, you can find them in pre-workout, protein powders, greens powders, supplements, etc. So people are consuming these way more than the recommended amount every single day. That's where cognitive decline and metabolic issues come from, not from you having this once or twice a month. This happens when we're having it on a daily and weekly basis. What are some sweeteners that you do want to use or that you can use? Stevia, monk fruit. Stevia and monk fruit are great. Honey, maple syrup are natural sweeteners. Consume them according to the serving sizes of what you need. Those are going to be way better in the long run than these artificial sweeteners. Now let's talk about endocrine disruptors, non-food products. These are going to be your shampoos, body washes, cleaning products, fragrances. These are going to contain parabens, phytates, synthetic fragrances. What these have been shown to do is they've been shown to cause hormone disruption, neuroinflammation, and metabolic issues. There are tons. Now, what can you do? I recommend using apps like Yuka. Yuka is a great app that actually gives you a rating, whether from 0 to 100, whether a product is good or bad. And by understanding more about what ingredients are in our food, what we should avoid, and what we can actually do about it, gives us back the power. And then using products or apps like Yuka to scan your products at the grocery store gives you even that much more control. Now, I don't recommend that you overhaul everything at once. What I do recommend is that you replace gradually. Go through your pantry. Look through what products you do consume consistently. Don't worry about the stuff that you're consuming occasionally. Just focus on what you're doing every single day. By you doing that, you're going to take back control and you're going to actually be able to say, oh, I'm consuming too much diet soda. Cool. Let's switch over to Olipop. Let's switch from regular cleaning products to a new cleaning product. It does not have to be complicated, just intentional. Now, the key takeaway for all of you is that yes, our system is flawed, but you still have control. Focus on small, intentional swaps and always focus on awareness over perfection. And if you want the full list, check out the link below and go to my website. Now, I want to say thank you so much for being here today. There's so much more that we could have talked about and discussed. And if you want to learn more about ingredients and what foods to avoid and what foods to incorporate, leave a comment below and I'll be glad to have my next episode exactly about that. I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode.